Hello everybody and welcome to another fly tying session with your host Scott. In this session we're going to be tying a fly from across the Atlantic called Griffith's Gnat, and it's on page 160 of my book, the Trout and Salmon Magazine, the favourite flies one, 220 favourite flies, and it's meant to be tied on size 16 down to 22. Now, I'm not very good at tying flies on smaller than a 16, I will be honest. But that's what it's meant to look like when all is done. And it's meant to look like a Midge Cluster. The fly is also known as a Midge Cluster in some circles as well. So in the vise, we've got a very light gauge wired B405 in size 16 by Camazon. For the thread, I'm using a 14.0 thread. It's called Sheer, made in the UK. I don't know whether that refers to the thread itself or the actual brand, but it's in black. For the body, we're going to be using a single strand of Peacock Herl. And for the hackle, we're going to be using an Indian Cock Cape in Grizzle. We're going to be using these very small feathers at the top here, towards the top of the neck. So that's pretty much all there is to it. If you've had a bit of practice, it can be quick and easy, but because it's such a small pattern, I'm going to be taking my time a little bit. So there is a little bit of a story behind this fly. My friend Ken, who fishes with me and co-hosts some of the fishing videos, was fishing with me at Nantumock. We weren't on camera, we decided we'd have a session just for us. Unfortunately, the stillwater fishing video hasn't really proven very popular, despite catching more fish and better fish, but hey ho. And he caught his personal best and the best brown trout to come out of that lake on this pattern, and he was fishing it on the middle dropper, and he got a cockabondy foam, a foam cockabondy in size 12 on the point, and yeah, he did really well. In fact, he caught 6 fish in the whole session and actually beat me. I'd only caught 3. I did manage to catch a few more afterwards, after he'd given up and packed up, and I got to 10 in the end, 3 to 10. So we're going to tie in the Peacock Herl at the bend, try pinch turn, it's not playing, so I'll force it on, lock it in like so. And then we're going to tie in our feather as well. We need one of the very small ones. See, you've got it's a bit of a conundrum really. You've got to try and find one that's long enough to be wound around the hook, but you want one with barbs that are short enough so that it's in proportion. It's really difficult to do. I think we may have found one here. So we're going to remove the fluff from the stalk, and we're going to tie that in as well. Now it is technically a palmed hackle, however you're just winding both of the materials the same way down to the eye and tying it off. There's no wire or a secondary rib involved with this pattern. I have tried tying them that way though, and I'll just use a little bit of very fine fishing line as the rib to hold the feather. So we're going to tidy up to about there. And we're going to wind our Peacock Herl, touching turns. Now, when we was at Nantumock, the main fly life was black midges, really. There wasn't any beetles about, but if you offer these fish a beetle, they normally come up and have a crack at it, because it's, well, it's a big meal for them. It was really odd. There wasn't many fish rising towards the end of the day. When we first started, there was. But we were still fishing dry fly on the whole throughout most of the day, and they were coming up to the fly, even when there wasn't a hatch or a rise on. So yeah, it was an interesting day. I'm just going to catch the very tip of that feather. I'm using my Midge. The Midge version of the hackle pliers, and then we're just going to wind it as if it's a rib on top of the Peacock Herl. There's one thing I did notice with this particular pattern is it did float very well indeed. Just a tiny bit of floatant required, and it really did float well. So then we're going to tie off the feather at the hackle. It's probably just easy to pinch it off. Brush the fibres back so you can form your head. I can stay there out the road for now while I whip finish it. There we go. Trim away. Just a dab of varnish. Just to hold the knot. And then just shape it how you want it. And there we are. It is a fluffy mess, but that's Griffith's Gnat. Thank you all very much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.